Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November the 4th, and we are going to be talking about multiplication, which I'm really excited about. It's one of my favorite math topics, and we are learning how to relate repeated addition to multiplication. We're going to be learning this because we want to be able to determine if an equal number of items in a group represents multiplication. If you've got the same amount, an equal number, then we can use multiplication to represent that rather than using another operation. And you're going to know that you're successful when you persevere through the problem, even when they're hard, and you can use repeated addition or adding equal groups or rows or columns. So we're going to be working on that today. As always, you're going to have your virtual manipulative slide available. You can use that for counting in equal groups. So always think about using that if you need help with those virtual manipulatives because they're a great tool for us. And I'm going to show you how to use some of those today. So today we're going to be learning how multiplication is like repeated addition and how to use multiplication to solve problems. So there are ways that we could use multiplication to make it a little bit quicker for us to think about it when we have an equal number in each group or in each row. So we're going to talk about a problem first that would be a problem that we could actually think about using multiplication. So Miss Witt bought 3 boxes of finger paints with 7 jars of paint in each box. How can you use counters to find the total number of jars? Now here's where we're going to go back to that virtual manipulative slide to help us use counters to figure this out. So I know that I have 3 boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 3 boxes over here represented by a column, just so that it'll make it easier for me to see it. And I know that there's going to be 7 jars in each box. So I'm going to go ahead and start making my row, fill it in with 7. And you may have to scoot it over if you don't have enough space, but I think I'm going to make it here. Put them a little bit tighter there. Get them all in the screen. I'm going to go ahead and scoot these up so I can see them. And I again can use repeated addition to help me, and I'm going to show you how that's going to work when we get all of our counters pulled over. So when I get these counters pulled down, I don't know what happened. I think I pulled it up in that other one. I started to say, where did my third row go? But I think it's because I pulled it up into the other group. One more down. Okay, now that I look at this particular problem, how could I determine how many jars there are? So what would you do to determine how many jars are all together? If we know that there's 3 boxes with 7 jars in each. I'm hoping I'm hearing you saying I can just count them. I'm hoping that I'm hearing you say that I could count by my sevens. So in this case, how could we determine how many we have altogether, how many jars we have? So if you just decided to count each one, that works. If you decided to say 7 plus 7 plus 7, that also works in this particular problem. So we're going to go ahead and count them. I'm going to count 7 plus 7 is 14, and plus 7 more is 21. So we can skip count by our sevens, or I can just count everything that I see here, every dot that I see, to get the total 21 as well. Now remember, in that virtual manipulative slide, you can use those counters here in the corner up at the top on the right to help you solve those problems. All right, so let's try this again. There are 4 jars of paint in each of the 5 boxes. Use counters to find the total number of jars. Draw a picture or write an addition sentence and a multiplication sentence to solve. So now we're going to turn it into a multiplication sentence using a repeated addition sentence plus using a picture. So in this particular problem, I have 5 boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and start my rows. So I need 5 of those. And in each box, I have 4 jars. So I'm going to go ahead and put 4 in each row. And again, this problem is asking us to draw a picture. So here's going to be my picture. Then it's asking us to write a repeated addition sentence or a multiplication sentence. And I'm going to do both for this part of the instruction. So again, we can count by our fours. We can skip count by our fours. In this particular case, I could do 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 to get my answer. So, and I'm going to do it 5 times. So I can do 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 to get my answer. I can count all of them to get my answer. So in this particular case, I'm going to come back over so you see the picture that I could have drawn for this. Now I'm going to write a repeated addition sentence for it. So I have 5 boxes, and in each box I have 4. So I'm going to do 4 plus, plus 4 plus, and I keep hitting the equal sign, 4 plus 4 plus 4, and that's going to be equal to, and I'll tell you what that's going to be equal to in just a minute after I talk just a minute about what kind of multiplication sentence I can make. So I'm going to quickly hop back over to my drawing, and I'm going to look at how many rows I have. So in this particular case, I know I have 5 boxes. So I'm going to count 5 first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to be sure. And then in each box, I'm going to have 4. So when I write a multiplication sentence for that, it's going to look something like this. So I'm going to write 5 times 4, meaning that I've got 5 groups of 4. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But I wanted to go ahead and throw that in for you, that we're going to start talking about how we put it in groups. So I've got 5 groups, 5 boxes with 4 in each one. Okay. So in this particular case, I can count by my fours. Or I could just count everything in the grid, just like for my drawing. I could count those individually. But when I do 4 plus 4, I get 8. 4 more is 12. 4 more is 16. 4 more is 20. So my answer would be 20. So there is going to be 20 jars in this problem. So remember that when we talk about making that picture, we can just use base 10 blocks to draw pictures. We could use the ones, I've done those before. And made my grid, or you can use counters. There are all kinds of things that we can use to represent and draw for a multiplication problem to help represent that problem. You can, like I said, skip count, which is going to involve that adding the same number over and over. But what would happen if one of the boxes had 7 in it or 6 in it? Could I use multiplication? So that's my question for you. I want you today, whenever you turn in your work, to answer this question. Would I be able to use multiplication if there were different amounts in each box. And I'm going to type that question out for you so that you can see it. So again, here's going to be our question for today. Can I use multiplication if there are different amounts in each of the boxes? Why or why not? Please put your answer in the private comments when you turn in your work today. Um, that's all I have for today in regards to the instructional video. Your lesson work is going to be from iExcel. It's going to be F1 and F2. I want you to get a 100 SMART score. It is going to be regarding multiplication times 0 and times 1. If you have already completed that assignment for this year, I want you to go ahead and do it again to get credit for it for today's lesson work. So make sure that you redo it if you've already done it. So you're going to be multiplying times 0 and you're going to be multiplying times 1. Now, just a quick reminder that we talked about on Monday, the properties of the 0 property, that anytime that I multiply any number, regardless of how big it is, times 0, the product is going to be 0. So if either factor is 0, the answer or the product is going to be 0. If I'm multiplying times 1, I'm going to use the identity property, meaning that whatever number is multiplied times 1, that number is going to stay the same. So if I multiply 5 times 1, my answer is going to be 5. If no matter how big the number gets again, if I multiplied 1,000,000 times 1, I'm still going to get 1,000,000. So you're going to do that as your lesson work for today. You're going to complete the problem of the day, and then you're going to answer the question that I just asked you in the private comments on your when you turn in your work. So the question again was, can I use multiplication if there are different amounts in each box? Tell me why you think so or why not if you think no. So if you say yes, tell me why. If you say no, tell me why. You guys have a great day. Look forward to seeing everybody. See you later.